So let's start talking about color and how to use it. So first, before we can really use color, we kind of have to understand what color is. So someone tell me what this is.
Color wheel.
Color wheel. We've all seen it before, right? Nothing shocking about that. When was the last time you used a color wheel? Grade school, you must have had like fashion or interior design.
Yeah, I was going to say, I use it in interior design.
Yeah, that's pretty much, if you don't take fashion or interior design, usually the last time you used a color wheel is like grade school, when they made you color it. And then you forgot all about it, right? So when you look at this color wheel, can someone tell me what the primary colors are?
Like their specific names. Isn't it red, yellow, and blue?
Red, yellow, and blue? Is she right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Get how confident you guys all are. Juniors and seniors in high school, and we know our primary colors. Wow.
I know it's red and yellow.
You know red, yellow, so you know two of the three?
Red, yellow. I think it's blue. It's blue.
It's
It's blue.
It kind of depends, actually. In photography, it's not.
Oh,
It's not CMYK either. Oh my gosh. No.
Is it what it is?
So all of these are different color harmonies. So we have like monochromatic. We're going to talk about some of these, right? But what we're going to be looking at is first, how is color used? So primary colors, you were learned that they're primary because of why. Why were those three primary colors primary? What does that mean?
They make all the other colors.
They make all the other colors, right? So if you mixed, I don't know, blue and yellow, what did you get? Green, right? So you're having, remember in elementary school, you're mixing those colors, like, oh my gosh, it's like magic. That still happens. In fact, some of you are still going to be blown away by what we do next. So those primary colors make up all other colors. When it comes to life, though, there's actually several different processes of color. So in digital photography or any digital color form, we actually use a different color code. We're going to use RGB. What is RGB? Red, green, and blue. Okay. So RGB, and then there's that other one that someone said was CMYK. What is CMYK?
It's cyan, magenta, yellow, and K.
What's K?
Ketchup. Black.
Black. Why in the world is K black? Black doesn't start with a K.
It's blue.
Because blue is already taken up, right? The B for blue. So if we threw a B in here, it'd be CMYB. So cyan, magenta, yellow, blue. But that's not what we use. So RGB versus CMYK are a different color process. For digital, we use RGB. For things that are printed, so like a printer, they use CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black to create all other images or all other colors. Okay. So CMYK is kind of like using paint in a way, meaning we're going to drop the remote. We're going to be adding ink to white paper. So when we add those colors together, we're going to create other colors. So what do you think will happen if I mix cyan and magenta?
What is cyan exactly?
It's blue.
It's right there.
Blue.
It's blue.
Cool. Yeah, all right.
It's not. It's a lighter blue.
It's just light blue.
No, it's cyan.
Okay, but it's light blue, right? No. So like it's kind of like.
No, light blue is a different color. It's cyan.
I'm walking at you right now.
It's an actual color, cyan.
Okay. Well, I learned something new today.
Yeah.
Yay.
See, remember when I told you some of you were going to go, whoa, that's magic? Already happened. Right. Okay, so what's going to happen if I mix cyan and magenta?
Purple.
What do you guys think? Purple?
Purplish.
A different color of cyan.
It's like a pinkish purplish.
bluish, purplish.
Wow, we should really use color wheels for it.
Cyanish, magenta.
What are we talking about? Magenta?
Yeah.
Look at the TV. That is blue. It's actually what a pure blue looks like.
It's cyanish, magenta.
So cyan and magenta make blue. So what is cyan and yellow going to make?
Red.
Remember when you're like, no, there's no way this is going to be harder than action. We haven't even got to the part where you take pictures yet and you're already screwed. Green.
Yes!
Oh, I thought you said it's magenta and yellow.
Okay, so what's magenta and yellow?
Red.
Red. So now what happens if we make cyan, magenta, and yellow?
Black.
And jello?
Yellow.
He just said jello.
No.
You probably did.
You just were doing jello shots earlier. Okay, so when we mix all three of these, we get black. Right? Now, that's the basic concept. I know it seems weird, right? Like, why would you get black? When you add equal parts of those three colors, it will equal black. The pure color, right? So a pure cyan, magenta, and yellow will create black. You can actually take this a step further. So the printer we have back in our back corner here that we print photos off for the art show has 16 colors, I believe it is. So we have a magenta, a light magenta, a dark magenta, a light cyan, a dark cyan, a yellow, light yellow, dark yellow, black, and what do they call it? It's like pure black or something like that, matte black. So it uses all of those different colors to create a more vivid, brighter color for us. Okay, so now if we're adding ink to paper, that's what we're gonna get. Is our camera adding ink to paper? No, how does our camera see? Light. So there are three main light colors, or three primary colors in light that will produce all other colors. What are they? Red, green, and blue, RGB. Okay. So RGB is going to be the opposite. Instead of adding colors, we're taking those colors away. So we're starting with dark, with blackness, right? Because blackness is the absence of light. So now we're going to be adding light to it. So if we have green and red light, they mix together to create what?
Yellow.
Yellow. And here's the really cool thing. You can really do this. So if you had a green and a red flashlight and you pointed them at the wall, where they mixed, it would turn yellow.
That's crazy. I'm blown away.
Really. Like legitly. That's how your camera works. So what's going to happen if I mix green and blue?
Yeah, green.
You get green? Is that what you
Like a
said?
turquoise
Yeah,
color.
cyan.
Cyan?
Like a teal. Like a
Teal. Man, color's rough for you, huh?
It's a color. Some sort of
No dye.
color.
If you mix two colors, you're gonna get a color, guys. Mind's
I
blown.
learned something new today.
Okay, I'll help you learn something else out. So I'm giving you a hard time, but truthfully, guys typically do have a little bit more of a challenge with color for a couple of different reasons. One, 50% of males have some kind of color blindness, meaning we see colors differently or muted, if at all. And sometimes we don't even realize that we don't see a pure color. We don't know until we start learning about colors. The other thing that makes it really challenging is that people in general don't see colors equally. All of our eyes are different. Even though they should work the same, they really don't, right? So if we had a color chart up here and I put blue, and I had like 20 different shades of blue on there, all the guys in here would group around like 5 or 6 of those shades and say this is the purest one, but it wouldn't be all equal. Meaning, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of us guys in here. So if we would narrow it down probably to maybe 4 but even that 4, all 8 of us wouldn't agree on. We would choose a different one. The same thing happens with females. You females will choose a grouping of a pure color, but not all of you are unanimously going to decide that color is the pure color.
Oh, is that how you did like that lineup of people like with their shirts and
Mhm.
you never agree?
Yeah. So we all perceive color a little differently. So this is one reason that color is really challenging is we have these pure colors, but we have to train our brain how to recognize those colors as a pure color. So for those of you that want to try it now to say, well, I'm colorblind, that's why I couldn't do this assignment, I'm also going to let you in on this little secret. People that are completely colorblind can learn how to see colors. Typically, complete color blindness means you just see different values of gray. But each color is a different value of gray. So blue might be a little lighter than a red, and so you can train yourself to recognize those colors. So,
I learned something new today.
yeah, you've learned a lot new today. It's been like 20 minutes.
This is crazy. Like
Yeah,
this is more than all of school combined. Just like,
I know.
yeah.
Okay, so blue and green we're going to say makes magenta, is that what you said?
Like
Cyan. Okay.
Darn.
And then blue and red make the magenta. When you mix all 3 of those, what are you going to get?
White.
White. See what I said? Mind's really blown. It doesn't make sense, right? Why in the world would you get white? Like white's a light color. Why does that work? Because it's light. We're working with light right now, not pigment. Right? So this is where usually we get confused, is when we've worked with paint and we've had some experience with printers, those are actual pigments. RGB is not a pigment, it's light itself. So every light source is going to produce a color, right? What controls color in our camera?
Aperture.
What controls color in our camera?
White balance.
White balance. Man. Right? So this is why it's really important that we set a correct white balance, because it's going to affect every other color in there. Because when we mix them, if it's not really showing us white, all of the other color values are also going to be off. So white balance is selecting this white here and saying, well, this is actually what white is supposed to be, and it redistributes these colors into your camera. All right.
My dad will take a picture of a white poster before he takes pictures of it.
Uh-huh. So RGB is how we're going to use color in any digital form. So computer screens, TV screens, anytime it's using light, we're using RGB. Okay. All right. These are 3 other, I guess, terms or properties of colors that you need to understand. The first one is hue. Has anyone heard of hue before?
Yes.
We should have.
Of you.
What is...
Yeah. Ready?
It's like the
Guess to why
temperature of
he's
the
single
color.
still. I missed you guys. I had a whole day of not making fun of you. Yeah.
Isn't hue like kind of the different shades of that one color?
Kind of. It's just the name of the pure color. So it's without any shade or tint. So a hue is pure color. So RGB, those would be the hue. Then we have intensity and saturation. What in the heck does that mean? Uh-huh.
How pure a color is?
Wow, that's such a good answer. Man, how pure a color is. But what does that actually mean? Like, we can say that, but what does pure mean?
Isn't it like how bright or no, just kidding, that's the other one.
But keep saying what you're saying, because I think you're on the right
I
track.
think
You're
it's
just using the
how
wrong words.
Vibrant it is.
Yeah, how vibrant it is. So lots of color, like it's really like neon, or it's not so much neon, right? I guess that's an easy way to kind of look at it that way. Then value. What's value mean?
How light.
Someone from this table over here, the back half. We haven't heard from you before yet. What's value? Okay, the contrast or the difference in the color, or how light and dark a color is. Right? So value is honestly the most important thing when we talk about photography, almost really any form of art, is how the lights and darks work together. Color also still has value. Even if we are using photos that have a lot of color in it, each color has a value, and we have to learn how to balance those values out. These shouldn't be new words, but how often do any of you use any of these things? Yeah, like never, right? So we're going to try to get in that habit of using proper terminology, because it's drastically going to affect how we critique and how we look at our photos, right? So if I was trying to tell you that your colors needed to be brighter, but I was like, oh, the value of that color is just really dark. Well, what does that mean?
It means it's dark.
It means it's dark, but I was trying to say it needs to be more saturated, so the colors themselves need to be brighter. So using those proper terminologies is going to be a lot more helpful for us. All right, so we're going to look at a couple reasons, really 3 reasons, why we should use color. Because just because color's there doesn't mean it's going to be a great time to use it. It's just like all of the other rules of composition, there's a time and a place, right? If you look at your pictures you've taken, you haven't used every single element of design every single time. Sometimes we won't use it. If we're going to use color, it needs to fit into one of these 3 categories. 1, color is the only reason the photo exists. Meaning, without color, this photo wouldn't have any focal point, it wouldn't have a reason to look at it. Color is the whole photo itself. The second reason would be what? What's the second reason?
To control the focal point.
You're so smart. To control the focal point. So I can use color to control the focal point. What's my third reason to use color?
When color controls the mood.
So to change the mood. How does color affect the mood? Let's go here.
If it's darker, it's going to be like more of a gloomy or like intense or serious mood.
Okay. By darker, do you mean less intense? Low saturation?
Sure.
Uh-huh. Okay.
If you use cooler colors like blue or like a darker green, it like kind of makes you feel more sad, or like you kind of more like think about the photo. I don't know. Like,
So you're telling me colors make us feel certain ways?
Yes.
Yeah, is that what you were going to say? Do you guys remember talking when we learned about the elements of design, how color can affect us? So what did the surgeons and surgery centers do to make people feel more calm and relaxed in surgery?
They have blue rooms, not that red streak.
Yes, they wore cool colors. Cool colors tend to relax us more than warm colors, which tend to make us more anxious. What's an example of a warm color?
Orange.
Orange, yellow,
Red.
red, throw you for a loop, blue.
Wait, what?
What? I know, your cool colors, we can actually make them warm too.
Oh wait, because blue's the hottest part of the fire.
No, that's not how that works.
I thought I was on to something.
You thought. And generally speaking, blue would be a cool color, but you can actually make any color warm or cool. You just have to alter it. But yes, so you would be right. Red would be warm, blue would be cool. Okay, what's another way that we see color being used to change our mood?
McDonald's sign.
Okay, how does McDonald's sign change our mood?
The colors make us want food.
Yeah, reds and yellows make us hungry. They're really ugly. That's why you keep eating McDonald's. You don't believe me, Sydney?
I don't understand what you're saying.
I'm just trying to why? Like, what's up with those colors that make us hungry?
It's just how the colors interact with your physical state. It's just like music. Now when you listen to certain kinds of music, it can change your mood, right? So audio stuff, well, color is the visual side of that. We can visually change our mood by what colors we see. Yeah.
There's a cool psychology study where they put people in a room that's entirely walls, floor, ceiling blue, and walls, floor, ceiling red. They've made sure that they're at the same temperature, but the people in the blue room always felt colder, and the people in the red room always felt warmer. So not only do they change our minds, but also our physicalness as well.
Physicalness.
Word of the day.
Is there a protective color?
A protective?
Productive.
Productive. Oh, bless your soul, Eve. I'm sure there is. I am not even going to try to pretend like I know what every color means and how it affects you. But I'm sure. Look it up. Well, we keep going. You look that up and tell us what colors help productivity. Okay, so those are the 3 reasons we're going to use color in our photos. If we have color in our photo and it is not lining up with one of these 3 reasons, should we be using color? No. Color should be used appropriately. All right, so when you look at this photo, where do you look?
The sign, the white parts.
Right here?
Yeah.
Okay. Why am I looking there? So the value contrast, right there. What's the point of this photo, though?
To encourage, right?
I don't know.
It's irony. Because
Irony?
it says you're looking smart today, but it's in like a rundown area.
So rundown people can't be smart?
No.
Okay. Looking at it, how many of you kind of look here and then you start wandering around this photo, looking at everything else in it? Yeah. Why is that?
Because it probably had color and you took it out.
Because it probably had color and I took it out because we're learning about color.
Yep.
Oh, wow, look at that.
There we
That's
go.
cool.
What's different between those 2 photos?
Color keeps your eye on the sign.
It's way more vibrant, so the colors are more saturated.
It helps you know where to look.
Helps you know where to look, right? So looking at the colors everywhere else behind it, what colors do we see?
Gold colors.
Blue. So there's white, but even look at the things that are white. You see how they kind of have that blue tint to them? And then this is red. So we're using cool colors behind it to make the warm colors stand out. Okay. Let's see, how do I want to phrase it? How is color being used in this photo? Which one of those 3 reasons is being used here?
Color's the only reason for the photo?
Color's the only reason for the photo. Without color in this, would it be interesting at all? No. Right? So we have just one color, which is called what? Does anyone know what one color is called? Monochromatic. Because we have this monochromatic picture, we have that silver handle that then stands out. Okay, which reason is color being used here? I hear a lot of question marks.
Control the mood.
Control the mood?
Focal point.
Focal point? Okay, how is it controlling the focal point?
The shadows of the grays. It makes you want to look at the fencing.
Okay, so the values of the color. So our focal point has a lighter value than everything else around it. Okay, how is it controlling our mood?
It's like a lighter blue, so you feel more calm.
Yeah, it's just a piece of metal, right? So if that wasn't blue, would we feel calm looking at it? We really wouldn't. This is the really cool thing with color. It really will change your mood just off of the color that you're showing. Okay, what is the reason we're using color in this photo?
Are Are those potatoes or like
They
Those
look
are
like
coffee
focal.
beans.
like
Oh.
that?
You know, potatoes, coffee beans, they're kind of the same.
Like they're zooming up on like rat turds.
That's what I thought I heard.
Coffee beans. Rat turds and potatoes. Yeah. I gotta sit down for that one.
Hey, but they look like potatoes.
No, they don't.
The one on the far left right there, that's
Potatoes are not shiny.
They do
So
when you
they're
butter
wrapped in
like you
like-
butter
No,
the potato and you bake it.
they're not.
Yeah.
Colors.
If they were wrapped in tinfoil, they wouldn't be brown.
Maybe if you burn it. I
Well,
know
let me
that
tell you. You
fire.
ever put like the butter on your
Like
potato?
salt.
I mean, the one
butter
looks like
on your
it's in
potato, like
foil.
your baked potato, and then you bake it.
You guys are drunk. What's up? Yeah.
Well, I noticed that the colors are warmer in this photo, and because they're coffee beans, it kind of makes you think about the temperature of the drink, or like kind of cooler seasons that you're inside and enjoying like a warmth.
Yeah. So it's controlling the mood. Right? So the whole point behind color in this one is again the mood, our feelings. All right. Now we're going to look at ways that we can use the color. So the other reasons were why we would use color, and this is how you're going to use the color. So we have the color schemes. So these would be things like complementary color, triadic, analogous, and monochromatic. That means like nothing to everyone, right? Besides monochromatic, because we just talked about that. So what is monochromatic look, or what is that?
One color.
One color. So if I have red, can I have a light red?
Yes.
What about a dark red?
Yes.
What about black?
Yes.
What about white?
Yes.
Yes. Black and white will never count against you in any color scheme. Those are always included. Okay. So what is a complementary color?
Isn't that when they're opposite?
Opposite each other on the color wheel. So what is an example of a complementary color scheme?
Purple and yellow.
Purple and yellow, or what we'd actually call violet and yellow.
Red and green.
Red and green. Orange and blue. See how those are just opposite each other on the color wheel? Okay. We're going to look at triadic and analogous in a minute. All right, so isolated colors is another way we can use it. That means that there's no color except in the location we want people to look. So the most cliche way to do this is to take a picture of some girl all fancy in her makeup, and you turn it black and white, but you leave her red lipstick red. We all have seen that photo before, right?
And the photo of an apple.
And yes. Is that going to be a great way to take a picture? No, because it's what? Cliche. Cliche photos are not going to work out for us. All right. We can use color to be the focal point itself as the supporting color. What the heck does that mean? Yeah.
It draws your attention to the focal point.
Okay, so it draws your attention to the focal point. So if we look back at that picture, well, let's look at it. What is the supporting color?
Blue.
Blue. Because our primary color, the focal point where we want people to look, is red. So why is blue a supporting color?
Keeps you there.
It's cooler and it isn't as like it doesn't pop to your eyes. It's
Yeah,
different.
since where we want people to look is that really saturated red, then we have that nice cool blue behind it, so that blue supports that warmer color. Okay, that kind of goes into the next one, warm and cool colors. So this one, a lot of times people will get confused with complementary color. Complementary color are colors opposite on the color wheel. Warm and cool colors are opposite on the color wheel. Right? So you have a red. What's the complement of red? Green. Right? Red is a warm color, so it's on one side of the color wheel. If the other side of the color wheel is cool colors, and green is on the other side from red, what does that mean green is? a cool color. Okay, so we can use cool colors kind of as complementary. A lot of times we will interchange those two words, but they are technically different. All right, so warm and cool colors. We kind of talked about this, so I'm going to go a little quicker through it. Like I said, McDonald's, gross, McDonald's, but we still eat there because we just get hungry every time we're there. Right, so here would be some examples of warm and cool colors, right?
Starfish.
Yeah. Because we have that nice cool blue, those orange starfish stand out a heck of a lot more, right? So there's quite a few other starfish in here. You guys see them? But we don't notice them first. We notice those nice bright orange ones because of those cool colors around it. In the flower, we can use that nice orange flower with a cool black or blue background to draw our attention to that flower. Now, in the flower case here, do you think that's a natural background?
Maybe.
That'd be a pretty amazing sky, right?
Maybe you took it like July, you know? Like,
And then it would be really overexposed, right? So it's okay for us to control how we see color by changing our locations and bringing different backdrops to our scene, right? Must be time to get your SD cards, huh? All right, what complementary colors are being used here?
Orange and yellow.
Orange and yellow. So have you guys ever had your portrait taken by someone that actually knows what they're doing?
No.
One great way to know if your photographer is worth it is when they talk about what color outfits you should wear. Are they doing that because they think a color looks better on you?
No.
No, they're doing it because they know what colors are going to be in the background. All right, if she would have had orange or yellows on her shirt, what would have happened? She would have blended into that background. But because the photographer knew, hey, where I'm going is going to have those orange, yellow, red leaves. Those are really warm. I need my subject to wear something really cool. So she's going to wear blue. Helps stand out. It is a cute picture. So it's going to take some thought beforehand, right? Do you think the photographer went to this location before they took their picture?
Probably.
Sure did. You mean you're going to have to invest time researching? Gosh dang it. Hate when you have to think. Okay, our next one here is analogous. So analogous color scheme. These are three colors that are right next to each other on the color wheel. So if you have your color wheel, it's the three colors touching. Any three colors, doesn't matter. As long as they're touching on the color wheel, you'd be using analogous colors. Again, you can't just take the picture and say, oh, well, these three colors happen to match. We should be using them on purpose. So I use these colors together. Just another example of analogous for you.
that's pretty neat.
Oh, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything like special about what they're taking a picture of?
No, it's yours.
Yarn.
It's just yarn, but because of the way we've used color, it makes it a little bit more interesting. See, so now you have depth of field to worry about, your shutter speed to worry about,
White balance.
white balance, the rules of composition, and how you're actually using color in your picture. Man,
Wow.
who would have ever guessed? Remember when you thought photography was just pushing a button? Okay, our next one is triadic. What do you think this color scheme means? Yeah, it makes a triangle. That's the reason tri is in there. Whoa. So red, yellow, blue, they make a triangle. All right, color saturation. This one's really important to master, and it's honestly really hard, especially in photography because we can't always control the colors. Right? We are limited to what we see around us. Whereas a painting, you can change this just by mixing your paint. So color saturation is how pure the color is. A high or a low saturation is going to be what? What would you say a low color saturation is? What's a low color saturation?
Dull and muted.
Dull and muted. Man, you guys are so smart. I love it. Okay, what would a high color saturation be?
Bright and vivid.
Bright and vivid. There's a time and a place for both, but not always. So having high color saturation is not always a good idea, and having low saturation is not always a great idea. An image with low saturation seems to be softer, more gentle, and idealistic, versus high color contrast tends to be a little more exciting, kind of in your face. Okay. All right, so I'm going to show you an image, and you're going to tell me if it's low or high color saturation. High saturation?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Low.
Low, right? So we pretty much have the same thing going on here. It's just colored chalk. You can see how way more bright and vivid this is than the low saturation. And they have a completely different feel to them, right? This one on the left is more exciting, like that's going to be a lot of fun. This is a little more calming and relaxing.
Low.
Low.
Question mark, question mark. Okay, someone that said low, tell me why you feel like it's low.
Because it's not as bright, like
It's like
vibrant.
calming. It's like, oh.
Yeah, so the colors themselves are a little more muted.
Yeah, there's
So the
that.
image, we have a bright light source, but the colors themselves aren't vivid, right? So it's still a lower saturation. All right, here's the hardest part with color for you guys. Don't overdo it. It's really, really common in today's world. We just ignore color. We're used to it. We see it all the time, every day, all day long. We see color, which means we ignore it often. We look past it and we don't pay attention to it. If we don't pay attention to the saturation of our colors, oftentimes we use too much of it without a purpose. Okay, we're going to watch this little Pepsi commercial. So this was way back in like the late 70s, early 80s. Pepsi and Coke were like battling hardcore. Kind of like they still are, but the rivalry was much worse. The country, really the world was kind of divided geographically on which one was better. You went to like the East Coast and more people preferred Coke. You went to the West Coast, more people preferred Pepsi. And so they were trying to increase their market. And so Pepsi set up this cool thing they called the Pepsi Challenge, where they set a cup of Pepsi and a cup of Coke and just grabbed random strangers and asked them to try and vote which one they preferred. Okay? You want to click on that for me?
This is what costs a little more too.
Oh, click on it when it's still in full screen. If you do Shift F5, it'll take you back to the full screen. And now click on it. There you go. So Pepsi went to areas that had people that preferred Coke over Pepsi. So they mapped out locations like, okay, there's more Coke sales here. So they went to the streets in these locations to do the Pepsi challenge. Yeah.
This is the taste. This is the test. Pepsi versus Coke. The Pepsi Challenge. And all across America, more people pick Pepsi time after time after time.
Pepsi Coke.
Oh, what a time. It's gonna be Pepsi now. The winning taste is Pepsi. Gonna be Pepsi now. Taste for Pepsi.
What a great commercial, right?
Mr. P.
Huh? Hey. No. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's unplugged right now though. Okay. We did turn them all off last night. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they are. Yep, I can do that. Good. Okay. Yep. Bye. Hey Eve, will you turn on all of the computers, including the laptops? Thanks. They just said turn them on. All right. So during this Pepsi challenge, you saw everyone, as the commercial claimed, everyone was preferring Pepsi. What?
Is it because they were using vibrant colors on the bottle, but then the other one they
Well, that's a
used-
good thought. It wasn't. That's a good thought, though. So what do you think Coke did, though, when they saw this? They didn't do the same thing. They panicked, though, because now, holy crap! What do you mean? More Americans prefer Pepsi? We gotta do something. So they went and looked at Pepsi. They tried it out, and they discovered that Pepsi is much sweeter than Coke. Have you guys ever had Pepsi? It's way sweet, especially compared to Coke, right? So Coca-Cola was like, ooh, we got to change our recipe. Like, we need to be sweeter because that's what Americans prefer. So they added more sugar to their product. What happened?
Got too sweet.
Yeah, they actually dropped in sales. So what they discovered was, at first, people preferred that sweetness of Pepsi, but by the time they would drink a whole bottle or can of it, more Americans preferred Coke because it wasn't as sweet. So the first initial taste, they liked the sweetness, but over the course of a bottle, it was too sweet. Or in other words, too much sugar for how much they were drinking. Right? That same concept will work with your pictures. At first, a big splash of color might be really cool, and we're going to love it and say that's really amazing, but then the more you look at it and the more you use it, you go, oh, you know what, it's just really not that good. The colors are too much. So a great way to remember using color is going to be to remember it like sugar. Sugar's good. We like sugar, but too much sugar is bad. Right? That's what your dentist has been telling you since you were a kid. All right, I remember going trick-or-treating at my grandpa's house in Oregon once. We were having a good time. There's this big, huge mansion, and we're like, score. This is gonna be the house that does the full king-size candy bars, right? So we get up there, we knock, and they're all happy. And you know what they put in their stupid Halloween basket?
Probably Tootsie Rolls, right?
Toothbrush. They were dentists. I was so mad. I was like, are you kidding me? A toothbrush? I want candy, right? But long story short, too much candy isn't good. Too much color isn't good. Just line them up next to the computers. Thanks. Okay. So if your photo has too much color, what's going to happen? It'll be overwhelming. It'll be too much. It's going to make you sick. Just like when you were a kid and you would eat all of your Halloween candy that night, you felt sick, and the next day you just weren't good, right? All right. So what do we look at when we look at this photo? What is the intended purpose behind this photo?
To look at the child.
To look at the child? Where do we actually look? The perfume and this really bright pink thing surrounding her. So was this a good use of color? No, if we were wanting to look at that kid Sure, colors can be really cool and we want to like be girly because it's a little girl, but did that help us at all? Just because we have color doesn't mean it's going to be a better photo. If we remove the color from that photo, now where do we look? All we did was take that color out. And now it's a little more obvious where we're supposed to look, and we don't get distracted by the colors themselves. Okay, same here. Is color serving any purpose in this photo? No, like that's a cool earring or gauge he's got, right? Like the color's kind of cool there. But we also look at that and then we keep looking everywhere else, right? When we remove that color, it actually becomes a little more obvious to look at him.
Haircut.
What's your problem?
We was just talking about the haircut.
Yeah, like he's got a mullet and no other hair.
Look,
That is so weird.
how dare you judge someone based off of their appearance? What kind of shallow person are you?
It's just a weird
I'm not
haircut.
saying
You should
it's
go to the
bad.
barber.
He is just living
He's
his
rocking
life.
it. He's rocking it. It's just different.
Yeah, it's because you live in Rigby, Idaho. When I was I grew up in Washington State, Vancouver. It's right next to Portland, Oregon. You guys know what Portland, Oregon's motto is for their city?
Portland weird.
Keep Portland weird. I'm not joking. That's their motto. It's a legit thing. We had people would spike their hair and put like Fruit Loops onto it.
And maybe
Yeah. That was my life.
I feel like
I never
Kate
did
was
that.
One of those people to do that.
I
You
never
sure
did
you
that.
never did that?
I'm
Did
positive.
you think about it?
I did not.
Maybe once or twice.
My hair was too curly to spike. All right. Here is the improper way to use color, which we still struggle with. Looking over our action shots, many of us had problems with white balance. I'm going to say because we just decided not to even worry about it because we were so hyper-focused on our action. A lot of times, though, someone's going to be like, oh, I want to use color, so I'm going to change my white balance to get that color. Well, when you look at these images, this is the correct color to it. Making it too cool, it just seems weird. And it doesn't feel natural, and the picture itself feels off. Because what's happening is we're not using color to change one of those three things. Why we're using color, right? If we change the white balance, it's affecting all of the colors equally. So in this photo, changing it to a cool photo, did it do anything to help us use color appropriately? No, it just made her shirt look blue, right? And then her skin tones look like she's some pasty vampire that hasn't seen the light of day. Right? Same thing with too warm. It just makes them look like Trump. Poor tanning lotion, don't use it. It doesn't actually use color in an effective way. So it's always better to have the correct white balance and then to add colors into our picture effectively. Okay, I'm going to show you several examples really quickly, and you're going to tell me if it's a good use of color or a bad use of color.
Good. I would say that's a good use of color.
Okay, why is it a good use of color?
Focus on the strawberry.
Okay.
The color of the water, like the blue color, it makes you focus on the...
So we have a cool kind of greenish blue background with a nice warm strawberry. Okay.
Nice.
Also remember, look at the TV when we talk about color, not the smartboard. So we're using color, right? We have green and red. Those are complementary colors. But just because we have complementary colors doesn't mean it was a good, successful use of the color, right? So they're there, but is it really helping us look at anything in that photo? Not really. No, so here's where most of you are at. You take a picture and you don't pay attention to color at all. What would happen if this picture would have just been black and white? She would have stood out a heck of a lot more, right? If there's no point to having color in a photo, don't use color. I'm not done. You're going to want to write down the assignment. What about this one?
I say it's good use of color.
Good, what do you say? It's a lot of color? Yeah, so this one's kind of, I can see where some might think it is, but I kind of feel like it's just overwhelming. There's too much going on in it that, yeah, I kind of look there, but then I lose these Fruit Loops and the color behind them. Whereas if that would have just been like milk behind it, I probably would have looked at the Fruit Loops more.
Milk?
Yeah, look, get over it. I know more than all of you.
What is milk?
That's weird.
Okay. Good use of color, not a good use of color.
Good.
Good use of color. What do you look at? For sure.
And then-
So if this was her senior portrait, would this be a good use of color?
Yes. No.
No, because we're looking at her shirt.
Not
If it's her portrait, what should we be looking at?
Thanks.
Her, right? So here's where understanding the purpose behind your photo is going to be really important. If this was supposed to be an advertisement photo for a clothing company, did they use color properly?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we all looked right at the shirt, right? If it's an advertisement for her, a portrait of some kind, it's a bad use of color. So depending on what we're trying to take a picture of or the purpose behind our picture will also change if it's a good use of color or not.
I say it's a good use of color.
I feel like the seeds are blending in too much.
Okay, so did color help us in the photo? If not, do we need to use color? No.
Pretty good use of color.
Yeah, so this is one, if we didn't have color, we wouldn't really see it at all, right? Okay.
A little too wild.
Yeah, this is what half of you are going to try to do. There's no point. This is just too much. Sugar overload. Okay. Okay, here's your assignment really quick. So you need to take one picture that uses color properly. In other words, one picture where color is pulling us to the focal point or using one of those 3 reasons of using color. We have the proper exposure and white balance. The image creates a strong emotion or that aha moment. And then your composition. This is going to be due Monday.
Just